in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street. Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women. Wardrobe provided by Bahari Bahamas. Visit shopbahari.com. And good morning, everyone. Welcome to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm. As always, it's a pleasure to be in your company. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is my first day back on air after having a brief little hiatus. I took a couple of days off to go and celebrate my birthday, surrounded by some very inspirational people. I did travel to the United States and had an awesome time with the health coaches from the Institute of Holistic Health, and it was truly a birthday to remember. So much has been going on since in those couple of days that I took off. But first and foremost, I didn't get an opportunity to say on air because his passing took place after the last live show that I did. But I want to send my sincere condolences to the family and friends of Kendall Colebrook, also known as KCX. I was terribly shocked when I got the news that KCX had passed on, because he and I had developed a really close friendship and, talked about the future and all this good stuff. And then to hear that he had passed, I was just really, really shocked by that. Casey was a good guy. And just wanted to express my condolences to his children and his family members and all those who knew and loved him. And may his soul rest in eternal peace. And I know that his legacy will live on through the work that he did. So I just wanted to take a moment to express that. Okay, so on today's show, we are going to be talking about this whole citizenship question, because I understand there were some developments that took place while I was off the island. And I have to tell you the truth, I tuned everything Bahamas out. I wasn't following the news. I did. Somebody contacted me, Michelle, listen, I'm off the island right now. Can we have this conversation next week, please? Because it was my birthday weekend. I wasn't trying to be into all of what was going on. I'm sorry. No, I just wasn't hearing it. And then I got back and I got a call from, it's kind of funny because I had started to arrange this show before I left, obviously. And when I got back, I got a call from Fayne Thompson, and he was like, "Did you hear what happened last week?" I said, "Fayne, I was off the island celebrating my birthday. I wasn't tuned in." And he brought me up to speed, and I'm like, wow, this is so in time with what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm calling this show today, Who's Your Daddy? And we are looking at the most recent developments in this whole question of citizenship. And who better to discuss this than the one and only Loftus Roker, who is, this is his second time here on GPS. And I want to say, Mr. Roker, thank you so much for agreeing to come back to discuss this most important topic. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
And also joining us today is one John Bostwick. John is a regular now. I can't call him no guest because he's called people guests when they come for the first or second time, but he's a regular now. So, John, welcome back to GPS. Can you hear us?
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle, and belated happy birthday to you. And hello to the Honorable Loftus Roker. This is actually the second time I've had the pleasure to share microphone space with him. So, pleasure.
I am looking forward to this conversation. Also going to be joining us after the 12 o'clock hour will be Fayne Thompson, who has some very strong views on this whole question of citizenship. So, gentlemen, welcome to GPS. Welcome back to GPS, I should say. So, we all know the history of what took place in terms of the ruling that happened in 2020 that said that children born to Bahamian men after 1973 were entitled to citizenship. That was appealed. And then just a couple of weeks ago, the Court of Appeal upheld the ruling by Justice Winder. And of course, the Attorney General's office said that they would ask for a stay and intended to take this issue to the Privy Council. And now we see where there's sort of been a, I don't know what's the best way to put this. And when you're going before the criminal, if you're a criminal and you're going before the courts, you could work out what do they call it, a plea deal? I don't know if this is equivalent to a plea deal, but it's some kind of give and take we see that took place last week, where the government, or should I say the Attorney General's office is saying, if you do this, we'll do that. And so I wanted to bring you gentlemen together to talk about this, and especially what all of this means. I thought it was very important to have Mr. Roker on this panel because we've been hearing a lot of talk about the framers of the Constitution and what was their intent. And my thing is, you got some of them still here with us, so why not just ask them what was their intent, as opposed to all of these different interpretations of what the framers of the Constitution intended. So I want to begin this conversation talking about exactly that with Mr. Roker, the original intent as it relates to this question. What was the original intent, Mr. Roker?
Well, first of all, we never had any difficulty with this particular matter at the Constitutional Conference. If you check, you'll find that we all agreed that a child born to a man and his wife takes the nationality of the husband.
Mm-hmm.
Where a child is born to an unmarried couple, the child took the nationality of the mother. And there was no dispute about that at all at the Constitutional Conference. Now, one of the reasons I suspect that was agreed was because you could not be sure whether a child born to an unmarried couple, who the father was. You could not be sure who the father was. I suspect that was one of the reasons. And the second one was religious too, I guess. We thought people should be married before they have children.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no problem with that. Where a Bahamian man got married to a non-Bahamian woman. The children of that marriage took the nationality of their father. And that was the key matter, whether the father, whether you took whose nationality you took, the mother or the father's nationality, where there was a Bahamian and a non-Bahamian marriage. Now I didn't see any problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
I was on every committee before we went to the Independence Conference, every committee dealing with the drafting of suggestions for the Independence Conference. I attended the Independence Conference. After the conference, we were sent a draft of the constitutional document, and 3 members of the government, Arthur Hanna, Paul Adderley, and myself, we were sent back to London to discuss the discrepancies we had with the draft sent us by the British. And we had a meeting with Lord Balneil, who was the Secretary of State for Commonwealth Colonial Affairs.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no dispute over that part of the Constitution which set out what we regard as important. My big point was that we had problems because we had people called belongers, people with belonger status, and then we had British subjects, and these were given by the governor at the time on behalf of the British, I suspect. And these were people who got British citizenship in the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
And we had little difficulty with that. We had no difficulty with Bahamian status, which was something given to Commonwealth countries, citizens of Commonwealth countries in the Bahamas. We had no problem with that because the government of the Bahamas is who approved those. We had nothing to do with when the governor appointed people who were called British citizens. And so we had a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the only problem we had so far as citizenship was concerned. And my point is this. If we call the Bahamas a sovereign country,
Mm-hmm.
what right, I would think that only the Parliament of the Bahamas that can make the laws affecting anything. I believe judges have a right to interpret the laws, but I'm satisfied that judges cannot make laws in the Bahamas.
Mm.
If they can, then we don't have we're not an independent country.
Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, obviously the Constitution is supposed to be the supreme law. But now, in all fairness, when y'all were forming this Constitution, it was a different day and a different time. You didn't have...
That's always true.
Yes. Yes. So, taking into context where we are today, do you believe that the time has come for us to take a look at the Constitution as to how we can make adjustments to reflect the times in which we live?
Maybe, but I think that it's going to be very difficult to change the Constitution And one of the problems we had was that we were not together. We were one of the few colonial countries where we had opposition to going independent from the people in the country.
Mm-hmm.
We were not united on independence for the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons for that, I believe, is because we had about 10% of the Bahamian people were white, and they were considered the descendants of the slave masters. They had no reason to want independence because they were always independent.
Mm-hmm.
And so the unfortunate thing was when the dissident 8 left the PLP and they formed what they called the Free PLP.
Mm-hmm.
And then, this is my view again, we had a by-election in Central Andros when Clarence Bain died. And the UBP, who controlled the 10% of white people, and the Free PLP ran against the PLP in Central Andros in a by-election. And the PLP won. Darrell Roll became the Member of Parliament, replacing Clarence Bain. And the Free PLP and the UBP lost their deposits. They did so badly that they lost their deposits.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that is when the Free PLP decided they have to join with the UBP to fight the PLP. I believe that was a mistake, and that caused us a lot of grief, because I'm satisfied that the Free PLP members wanted independence for the Bahamas, but the UBP didn't want it. And to appease, to keep the UBP with them, the Free LP had to go along with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had this opposition to independence.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, mind you, after the election in 1972, the official FNM agreed that we should get independence. And in fact, they attended the Independence Constitutional Conference.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no opposition to that. But then you had this group headed by Errington Watkins, who decided that they wanted Abaco to break away from the Bahamas and all, and to remain a colony of Britain. And so there was always this dispute. And I am not sure that today we understand what sovereignty is for the Bahamas.
Mm. Well, many people are arguing that that this ruling does put our sovereignty into question, and there are others who are saying that this has nothing to do with sovereignty. John, what are your thoughts on this?
Again, and then listening to Mr. Roker, and I'm glad sovereignty is where the question ended up. It's a word that I often just post on my page, sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
Do we understand it? Do we have it? Did we ever really get it? And it's very nice. I don't want to change the topic of this discussion, but it's really nice to be sitting, because sovereignty is another discussion.
But
right? That's true. But discussion.
But it is so much still a part of this conversation as well.
You know, I am not certain that we're a sovereign state. I know we like to throw the word around.
Mm-hmm.
And sitting in the presence of one who was very much involved in the Independence Commission and all that came around before and after it, including our Constitution.
Yes.
The Queen is our sovereign. and she remained such. And we never passed an act of independence in the Bahamas. Our act of independence is still a matter of the British Parliament. So, sometimes I question whether or not we have sovereignty and to what extent we have sovereignty, because it seems that there are a lot of things that we don't claim as our own. In our jurisprudence, we still talk about crown land and crown assets. We don't speak about public land or Bahamian land and such things. And the crown exists. We still pledge allegiance to the Queen, her heirs and successors, and we still have Her Majesty's Royal Bahamian Police Force, etc., etc. None of those things suggest sovereignty. Even our coat of arms, if you understand the symbology at the top of the coat of arms, above all those Bahamian symbols, are the symbols of the crown. So I myself am one that questions sovereignty. Even as I question it, I'm a very strange creature, because I don't necessarily have a problem with where we're at. But even in being where we're at, we must know what it is and not pretend what it is. And at the same time, we must exercise all elements of our Bahamian sovereignty, because we might be confusing the word of sovereign state with what we really mean when we say sovereignty. We mean full and total control of everything in the Bahamas, including our constitution, our immigration, and our natural resources, primarily our natural resources. So that when we start talking about sovereign funds, we're talking about a sovereign fund owned by every person born with a Bahamian citizenship. And therein starts back into this discussion. Who is that class of person? And who became that class of person? Who was that class of person prior to independence, and who became that person since post-independence? And how do we continue to count that number and identify persons who belong in that number? Persons, and I understand where our founding fathers were at the time, and very much led by Christian principles at the constitutional commissions and such form. But I think that, with the greatest respect, their conclusions were short-sighted, and in some ways were short-sighted in also being a very male-centered view.
Yeah, this is so. I think you're frozen, John. Yeah, John may be having issues with his internet connection. You wanted to say something, Mr. Roker?
Yeah,
in
while
response?
I just want to talk about the Queen being the sovereign, being head of the Commonwealth and all of that. Again, to me, I have no problem with that. The reason why we left her there, the British wasn't asking us to keep her there or anything. Before independence, one of the things the opposition was campaigning on was that if we became independent, we was going to take their land, we were going to take everything from them. The judges would be Bahamians, and they would do what we say. And that is the reason why we left the Privy Council there. We left the Privy Council there to ensure that those people who were complaining about what we would do had a last chance to go to the Privy Council if they didn't agree with what the judges agreed on here. Because they were saying we were going to control the judges and all of that. The Queen, in my view, from the time of independence, was only a symbol, because we wanted to say we were staying in the Commonwealth. That's all. The Queen has nothing to do with what we do here. The Queen owns no land in the Bahamas. The land in the Bahamas is owned by the Bahamian people and is controlled by the government of the Bahamas. The Queen has nothing to do with Crown lands in the Bahamas. Anybody who tell you different to that, I believe they're trying to fool you.
Michelle, to that comment, if that is so clear, change the wording in the jurisprudence, and it should not have been allowed to be maintained for now 50 years.
Mm.
And we all know in the practice of law, words mean everything, Michelle. The difference between may and shall means everything in the determination of a matter.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between crown and public means a lot. And I don't need to have anything of that nature and that import to have any level of ambiguity attached to it, much less for 50 years. And nor do I see the reason for continued oath. When you swear an oath, that's no joke, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There's never been an oath sworn to the Bahamian people. Not by any police officer, not by any judge, not by any practicing lawyer, by no civil servant, not by anybody.
I think he's frozen again. John, you're
No,
freezing.
I'm not frozen. I just paused.
Oh, okay.
I just
wasn't
paused because my most honorable senior would have sworn oath to the Queen himself, as have I.
I get it.
Never have I been called to swear an oath to the Bahamian people.
And if it's, I get your point. If it's
Never.
symbolic, if it doesn't mean anything, it can just be changed with the stroke of a pen. So why are we still not doing that? That's a good question. We have to take a quick break. When we come back, yes, go ahead.
No oath is symbolic. No oath is symbolic. Let's not trivialize that.
I get it. I understand.
Your marriage oath, when you swear, that's not symbolic.
Well, some married fellas think so, but that's another story. That's not a show. I understand your point very well. Very, very well. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to talk more specifically about the olive branch that our government is offering as it relates to the citizenship question. And what that means as it relates to our sovereignty. So stay with us. This is GPS. We will be back after these words from our sponsors.
Glory 93.9 FM, the people's favorite gospel station.
Best dress, hats off, looking like I walked out of catalog. Everybody wanna know where I got it from. Catwalk, 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 boutique, where we make fashion statements. Catwalk, boutique, where we make fashion statements.
For the latest styles in women's clothing and accessories, visit Catwalk Boutique on Robertson Road East at the Helron Plaza. At Catwalk Boutique, we make fashion statements.
For all your building needs, it's Carib Construction and Project Management on Gladstone Road. We build it all. Schools, homes, hotels, and more, including structures requiring a Phase 3 electrical contractor. We also provide project management services. The first step towards your dream building begins at Carib Construction and Project Management. Call us at 376-1556 or 341-4466.
Executive Printers is your one-stop shop for all your branding and customization needs. Letterheads, envelopes, business cards, invoices, share and gift certificates, rubber stamps, vouchers, funeral programs, brochures, flyers, banners, and promotional items like mugs, water bottles, mouse pads, and key rings, all with personable service and great quality. No project is too small or too large. For great turnaround and competitive pricing, make an executive decision. Call us at 393-5011.
At Lee Air, safety is our #1 priority. Flying since 1996, we offer scheduled flights into Fresh Creek and Mangrove Key Andros and Great Harbor Key, Berry Island, twice daily, 7 days a week. Affordable charter services are also available to anywhere in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Lee Air Charter Services. Call 225-3267, 702-7127, or 322-1317 for reservations.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting sugar-free berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Alive. Alive. Believe in best. And by Tropical Gyros. Not just good food, it's an experience. And we are back. Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm, and my guests today are A. Loftus Roker and John Bostwick. And also going to be joining us after the 12 o'clock hour will be Fayne Thompson, and we are discussing the latest developments in the question of citizenship and what that means for the sovereignty of the Bahamas. And while I was away, apparently, the government sort of threw out an olive branch as it relates to this question. And this is, I'm quoting from an article that appeared in the Tribune. It says the government has offered not to detain or deport any person from the Bahamas who claims to be entitled to citizenship under Article 6 of the Constitution, pending the Privy Council's ruling on the Court of Appeal's recent citizenship decision, as long as the Court of Appeal simultaneously stays the effect of its ruling. I found that to be quite fascinating. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on that? What do you interpret as, what do you see, you know, if you're reading between the lines, what does that mean from where you stand? Or should I say sit? Mr. Roker's laughing, smiling.
Let Mr. Bostwick say what he thinks.
Johnny wants to start with you first.
Yeah, and I was hoping he started. A lot about that I find peculiar, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, an appeal to the Privy Council operates as a stay. And that suggests that the Court of Appeal has specifically indicated that they somehow don't intend to stay their application, having allowed the appeal to the Privy Council. So I find it strange that there's even needed to be a discussion. And at the same time, I find it incredible that the government would have suggested. You see, Michelle, this goes deeper. There's a lot of things going on between the pillars of our democracy and the separation of powers and executive as opposed to legislature, as opposed to the judiciary. And there seems to be a lot of blurring of the lines. The courts have stepped in and told the government in this immigration matter, and always it seems to be attached to immigration, that the government didn't have the right to clear shantytowns unless the court supervised each and every demolition order and approved each and every one. I found that incredible. I found that unbelievable, that the courts could step in and basically dictate the operations of 5 separate government agencies, 5 separate ministries, and within them, internally, multiple departments, all of which have to report to a single judge of the Supreme Court before they can affect the regulations, the regulatory environment of the government. because each and every step of it is under court scrutiny. Um, but that happened, and I found that amazing. So to see the court now making these steps again, I do believe that that is why the court exists in many cases, to check and balance the legislator, to challenge even the executive's actions in the laws of natural justice and in the area of public law and review. And but in the area of public law and review, not in a sense of to tell the government what they cannot do. And so there are consequences. There might be damages. There might be things that need to be reviewed. So I find myself very much torn right now, Michelle, because here I am as an advocate and an activist, getting ready to form an action because I feel the government is dragging their feet. For example, with regards to securing the public rights of way to the waterfronts. There's public rights of way to the waterfront every 3 or 4 lots in the Bahamas. And all of these rights of way are being taken away. So Cabbage Beach is a major one, but all over the islands, these rights are being taken away. And I feel the Attorney General should move and declare those things public rights of way. And if not, I feel the Attorney General should move the courts to have declarations made. But in the absence of him doing so, I feel that it is incumbent upon us who are practicing law to move the courts and to have the courts declare these public rights of way. So I do feel that the courts have a role in the administration of justice and in the affecting and effectiveness of our democracy, as it should in a so-called Westminster system when there's a tripartite leadership of or tripartite reflection of democracy. But all of that said, you're left a little bemused at some of the rulings that are being held. Do I think that there needs to be a better interpretation of Article 7 of the Constitution? Yes. Do I feel that the Constitution needs to be redrafted in order to make that clear? Yes. Is there going to be a need to make other things clear? Do I feel that any child born of any Bahamian woman or man, whether married or not, in today's world, where since 1977, more than 50% of births in this country have been out of wedlock? We need to face our realities. It is what it is. Since 1977, at present time, more than 70% of births in this country are out of wedlock. We are denying a lot of Bahamians their right to citizenship by maintaining these provisions. It's simple. You know, we're not going to put that cat back in the bag. We're not all of a sudden going to make the moral code in the Bahamas different. So we need to address the situation. Children born of a Bahamian man or woman, in my humble opinion, should be entitled to Bahamian citizenship. And our laws need to be clearly adjusted to reflect that. And that's as simple as that. That the courts are having to wade in, it shouldn't be. The legislature should make it clear.
Mr. Roker, your thoughts?
Well, again, I hear what Mr. Bostwick say. I don't think you can change the Constitution without going to a referendum. That's the first thing. The other thing is that in the Bahamas, we seem to only enforce laws that we want to enforce, and we ignore other parts of the laws. And I think that is eventually what is catching up with us. That is why you have we should never have had shanty towns in the Bahamas. If we were doing our jobs, we are paying people millions of dollars a year to do certain things. You have to get approval to build a house. You have to get approval to get electricity. We apparently only obey that when we're ready. And when we reach another point, we decide we could just ignore that. You cannot have a properly run country if you do not decide to obey all of the laws. If you do not like the law, you should change the law. And I agree with Mr. Bostwick that if the Bahamian people decide that they want a law change, then it should be changed. But until it is changed, it should be enforced.
So you, as a frame of a constitution, you are not opposed to, even though we would have to go through a referendum, putting it to the people in order to make these changes based on the reality of the times in which we live.
I do not know how you could change the Constitution without going to referendum. I don't know.
I don't think that you can. So are you
No, you can't.
So are you suggesting then that by passing down the rulings that have been passed down by the courts that this is an attempt to change the Constitution without going to referendum, Mr. Roker?
I am not going to get into that particular part of it because I don't think the courts have the right to change the Constitution.
Right. Okay. So
The courts aren't attempting to change the Constitution. The courts are putting their interpretation on the Constitution and on the laws that seek to give effect to the Constitution, including the Immigration Act, which is presently being amended itself. So, and just as in every country where jurisprudence, common law, is a facet of the law, so we have legislation, but we also have this body of law out there called the common law. And that is about the court's interpretation. And the common law is no less law. Precedent is no less binding,
Right.
And oftentimes statutes, bills, and acts come behind common law, come behind courts' interpretations where the legislation actually says, let us give effect to this thinking. And so the courts are now engaged in an interpretation where there's ambiguity, where there's room for definition or room for questioning and that is, I think, sometimes due to poor drafting or due to a poor expression of the intent in the actual statute. So one of the things we might have to do is come back to the people and get a clear expression of what, as Mr. Roker has said, what is the law that the people want? What is the law that the people want to abide by? I think the courts are attempting to give that. And if you look at different things, for example, that have come, the Child Protection Act. The Child Protection Act gives a man or a woman or anybody the right to prove fatherhood. To say that I feel that this person is the truth and to demand DNA testing. And if the person actually refuses the DNA testing, there's an actual presumption that he's trying to hide something in the act, in the statute. Okay. So you now have people in this age who can prove parenthood and who can prove certain things, and so that the court is looking at all of these things. It's like, all right, so why should a person who can prove being fathered and parented by a Bahamian father, whether he was married to the mother or not, why should that person be denied his right to citizenship? And I think it should cut both ways. Okay, why should a woman? You see, because we have some things that are perverse, even on the way that the law is structured presently. And I know persons who have been advised and who have done this. Bahamian women who've married a foreign man, and they're living happily in the Bahamas. That man might be a professional of high regard, has moved and left his home country and is now offering those services here in the Bahamas, paying a work permit, finally gets a spousal permit, gets a permanent residence. They're married. They have a child. That child is not Bahamian. For what reason is that child not Bahamian? Because of the provisions of the Constitution. Now, on realizing that, the couple decides to get divorced, but yet they still live together, live in the same home, and continue to live as a married couple. The rest of the children born are Bahamian because they are now being born to a single woman.
Yeah.
Living in sin with her ex-husband in order to appease archaic, insane provisions. It's not making any sense. That makes no sense in front of man nor God, in my humble opinion. It makes no sense that a woman should have to divorce her husband so that her children born in the Bahamas, born to her, could be Bahamian citizens. It makes no sense.
Mr.
Well, if I am, let us say I was from France, a Frenchman. I came to the Bahamas, got married to a Bahamian woman. Now, according to the rules, any children born to us would take my nationality, which is French. I'm a Frenchman. Why is there any argument? Why shouldn't my children be French? Why should they be Bahamian?
Your children should have a choice.
I see. But I don't know. I don't know if children can have a choice until they
Your
reach.
children should have a choice on becoming 18.
Right,
on becoming 18, they should have the blessed. They should have the blessed privilege of enjoying dual citizenship until they arrive at 18, where they are made to make a choice.
Well, okay.
Well, anyway, I don't know that there's any rules in the Bahamas, which I don't. When we decided on that particular point, all of the countries in the Commonwealth in the British Commonwealth had that position, where the children take the nationality of their father, and there was no dispute.
I am aware that our Constitution is a cookie cutter of the constitutions that were handed out to almost all of the British Commonwealth, especially the Caribbean Commonwealth. And that too is something that kind of disturbs me as I read their constitution. It seems that the British just handed out, like you say, there was no dispute. And we needed maybe to kind of fine tune and tailor some things. And maybe there should have been some disputes. I said, you know what, this is not fair to our women. Maybe there's a better way we could do this. We understand which is okay for the Jamaicans and okay for Barbadians and all the rest of them and all of that they've accepted it. But we in the Bahamas think that we would like to do something a little better by children born of Bahamian women, and we would like to look at this a little deeper.
You know, I was just waiting for you all to finish before I jumped in, right? Because as a Bahamian woman, I do think that this is most unfair to Bahamian women. Because, okay, fine, because I posted a comment by someone earlier. Let me see if I can pull that back up again. So, okay, here it is. It says, she, the married woman, takes his name. By extension, the family takes his flag. That just makes sense. Well, here's the thing. You know, things happen. So let's say she has all of her children. All of the children are born here in the Bahamas. All their life, all they know is the Bahamas. She's married to this Frenchman we're talking about. She and the Frenchman have a falling out. He decides he going back to France, but he's not taking these children with him. So they stay here in the Bahamas with their mother. Or the mother gets full custody of the children, whatever the situation is. So these children now have to travel to France every 3 months to go and come back in the country because they would be here illegally, if overstaying their welcome. I mean, that just makes no sense to me. And I don't understand how it is fair that could be applied to the male to say, if the mother is not Bahamian, then that child is automatically a Bahamian citizen. So the mother could go wherever she wants to go, but that child has rights. But my child, I'm a Bahamian woman, and my child don't have the same rights because their father happens to be from another country. I just don't see how that is logical or fair. And that's me just speaking as a
Michelle,
woman.
they fixed that by saying that your child can get permanent residency with the right to work. But that's the only thing that child can't do ever in this country is vote. They'll never have the right to vote.
That's not enough.
They'll ever have the right to pass.
That is not enough.
And I agree with you.
Women or those children, that is not enough. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You know, sadly, Michelle, what may need to happen is that women may need to get a case run through the Supreme Court, especially seeing the attitude of the courts now, because clearly the legislator is not moving. So the legislator is not preparing referendums and all the rest of it. Because the sad case is, you know, until the Supreme Court made that ruling, single Bahamian men were in the same position, Michelle.
Yes.
So if I fathered a child by a foreign woman, and that woman was here, even of legal status, here in the Bahamas, as a permanent resident with the right to work, but a single Bahamian man would have fathered a child by that woman, that child would carry that woman's nationality. And that child would not be a Bahamian until this ruling by the Supreme Court. Okay? So this framing it affects both sexes. And it really kind of comes, and look, I'm a Christian and I do believe in Christian principles and that we should try to hold and move our people towards that. But it comes from respecting the institute of marriage. I don't know if it's really about sexism. It's more about the respect for the institution of marriage. And I get it. But the fact is, 77% of people born in this country today are born out of wedlock. And they're being denied rights to citizenship because of it. And that's ultimately what the issue is.
Why are we afraid of a referendum?
Well, I don't know.
That is the way
Not afraid of a referendum at all. Not afraid of a referendum at all. But the truth is the referendum has to be framed in a proper and framed and moved on very clear, simple questions, not convoluted questions, not infiltrated by other means and all the rest of it. Simple question. Do you want Bahamian men and Bahamian women to have the same rights to pass citizenship to their children? Yes or no? That's it. I believe that would come back at 70, 80%. Yes. It's not a big question. We don't need 5 and 6 and 7 questions on the referendum. We need one question on the referendum.
People get confused.
And then all laws need to be brought into line to affect that.
We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning.
I apologize to GPS Live Nation for being late on the job, boss lady. Please do not cut my pay. Now, what I'm saying here is, lady and gentlemen, and to your listeners, the fact does not change. The reason why, Michelle, in a way, I have to say this, Michelle, the reason the time has come, I must say first of all, foremost, the time has come for women, Bahamian women, for there to be equal rights for male and female, period, in the country. I agree with that. But like John mentioned, the foundation, when that citizenship, all of that was being written, what they had in mind was the Christian nation we purported to be, in light of the historic nature of this particular people and where we come from and what we came out of. So by the time 1973 would come around, as relates to 1492 to 1973, and John would clear it up a little better than I can, but I'm saying as relates to why ladies were not given the same equal right as if they have a child for a foreign man, why that child is not automatic a Bahamian. And then some lawyers would argue, but it says if the child, born by a Bahamian male or female, they're Bahamian. So you see, the law is a little, John can fix it for me. But the point here, what I'm trying to make is, okay, we don't want to be discriminating against anyone, especially our ladies. If it wasn't for no woman, John and I wouldn't be here to have this conversation, okay? And so any right they desire, I am 1,000% with. The time has come because of the corruption. What the fear was, I cannot take what the fear was. Why the Bahamian had a problem with their women going and having children for a lot of foreign men, because we were outnumbered. The Bahamian men outnumbered. So now, because the Bahamian men outnumbered in 1973, we were outnumbered then also. So in light of international circumstances we found ourselves in respect to religion, okay, and politics, but in a democratic society, boss lady, okay, I'm sorry for being late to bring this message, but John touched the point. And this is where the discrimination started and how it started. And so if you want to say women having children are reserved for marriage in 2021, of course, that's going to sound like an absurd conversation. But it does not negate the facts and the foundation in respect to why it was like that. Women have Bahamian men outnumbered. And if And because if you let a bunch of ladies who are not trained properly, okay, and so Michelle, that's where you and other ladies come in to train the women. I can't train a woman. Okay, I could train my son, and you're already injustice. They took my son.
Train the women to do what, Amos? Train the women to do what?
I'm saying when I teach them who they are. Excuse me. Teach them who they are, where you come from, and what if you are entitled to. If the ladies of this country were benefiting from the natural resources for 48 years, we won't have no conversation who the husband gonna be. Because in fact, everybody will benefiting. That I have a right to choose my woman from Africa if I want. So, and the woman, the Bahamian woman, should have the same right. And if my African woman have a baby for me, that baby is Bahamian. And if the American or British man have a baby with a Bahamian woman, that baby is supposed to be Bahamian. But see, the foundation is truth, two spirits, spirit of truth, spirit of error. Either you're going to speak truth or you're going to be in error. Jesus said that's how you know if God in you. When the spirit of truth is in you and not the spirit of error. Have a good day. I'll talk some more another day.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Anybody want to respond to Amos? Mr. Roker's like, no, I ain't touching that. John, you have anything to say? Because he had me a little confused there just now. I ain't gonna lie. Anyhow. Anything?
Amos is recognizing the new day in the Bahamas, and again, even with recognizing our spiritual foundation, which I subscribe to, the reality is what it is, you know, and we do need to equate our women, you know, and it's Michelle. There's some big topics we're touching on, and I don't know if we're off point, but issues of sovereignty, issues of equality, these are serious things, and our women are not yet equal in many ways. But this issue, though, with regards to citizenship, as I said, it affected children born to single Bahamian men as well, you know, in a big way. Mm-hmm. So wherever they were born, whether they were born here, whether they were raised here, in a big way. And it affected their ability for custody rights. There are a lot of men who want to raise their children born in and out of wedlock. And when you're in a position where you father a child by a foreign woman who is here, and you can't claim any level of ability to stop that woman from picking up and going back home with your child is not a Bahamian. Period. You know?
Yeah, but Mr. Roker said, isn't that her child as well? But then how come we ain't arguing the same thing when it comes to women, Bahamian women? You know, we can't have our cake.
Comes to the Bahamian woman.
Exactly. We can't have our cake and eat it too. You can't say that only applies in the case of a man, but when it comes to us, we don't have no rights. No, man. Listen, we 5 minutes past our break time. Let's take a quick break. I see Fayne Thompson has come into the stream. So when we come back on the other side of the break, we're going to get him in on the conversation. But we have to make room for our sponsors' commercials, of course. So let's take this quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation about who is your daddy? Citizenship laws and the impact on Bahamian sovereignty. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Glory 93.9 FM. We're chasing after God's glory.
Excuse me. Good afternoon. Excuse me. Anybody have some American single dollars, please?
Wait, shorty, you going for any?
Well, my mommy sent me to the cooler ice machine, but I only have Bahamian money. Oh, I'll tell you, mommy, she laid it. There's take Bahamian currency now, child.
You heard right. Cooler Ice Bahamas now accepts U.S. and Bahamian currency. So pull up to any of our locations and get your freshly bagged ice for as low as $3. A Cooler Ice machine is right around the corner. So visit us at Arawaki, Montague Boat Ramp, Porter's Key Dock, Superwash locations, Nassau Street, Gibbs Corner, Wolf Road, Prince Charles Drive, Charles Sanders Highway, Soldier Road, Carmichael Road, and our 4 new locations: Superwash, Carmichael Road West, BPSU Building on Wolf Road, Rolls Auto on Eastern South, and Joe Farrington Road, opposite Checkers Cafe. Cooler Ice Bahamas, fresh and ready whenever you are.
Looking for an extraordinary junior high school with caring, qualified staff and affordable tuition? Then come visit us at Elite School of Excellence, an affiliate of First Step Academy. ABECA-focused and Ministry of Education approved, we foster discipline, integrity, and wisdom while molding our students for success. Call us at 341-8846 or stop by First Step Academy Schools on Fire Trail and Soldy Roads for more information. At the Shirley Street Plaza, you'll find Le Petit Gourmet, a small cafe that's big on flavor. Handcrafted delights made with love will not only please your palate, but feed your soul. Call us at 394-1251. 8 to 12 minutes is all it takes for a burglar to rob your home or business. Security Systems International provides professional and affordable solutions for both. Call 396-5000 for your customized quote. Gwen's Alterations provides professional services for all your tailoring needs, including face masks to keep you safe and in style. A stitch in time saves 9. So call us today at 393-6227. Escape from the city life to Bacon Air Beach Resort in Pirateswell, Mayaguana. Relax in one of 16 air-conditioned rooms just steps away from the ocean. Enjoy scrumptious dishes in our waterfront dining room. Sip on a tropical cocktail, or if you must, stay connected with wireless internet. Nestled on one of the most beautiful beaches in the Bahamas, Bacon Air Beach Resort offers a unique vacation experience. For reservations, call 339-3726 or 463-0182.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Easy Car Sales, home of the electric vehicle. Visit easy242.com and free yourself from gas.
Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm, and my guests today are A. Loftus Roker, John Bostwick, and now joining us on the stream is Fayne Thompson, and we are talking about the recent developments in the ruling of citizenship as it relates to the nationality of the father being passed down to his child, even if the child is born to a foreign woman. And we all know the backstory behind this. Now, I'm not sure, Fayne, why your camera's not coming up. I've added you to the stream, but I'm seeing.
I can see you. I can see me. I'm being told.
It's John. That's
Yes, John.
Let me take John out for a second until his thing comes back up. And so the latest development in this whole story. Welcome to the show, Fayne.
Thank you.
The latest development in this whole saga, as it relates to citizenship, is that the government is now offering what is being described as an olive branch, saying that it will not detain or deport any person from the Bahamas who claims to be entitled to citizenship under Article 6 of the Constitution, pending the Privy Council's ruling on the Court of Appeal's recent citizenship decision, as long as the Court of Appeal simultaneously stays the effect of its ruling. What are your thoughts on that, Fayne? I know you have some very, very strong views as it relates to this.
Well, I So the government will not do something depending upon what the Court of Appeal does. So is that the means by which you cajole the Court of Appeal to give you a stay? I don't know. But first, let me also say thank you for inviting me, and good day to Mr. Roker. I must always acknowledge the elder amongst us and the senior citizen and the nation builder. Good day, Mr. Roker, and my brother, John Benford. Yeah. So let me just say that I think it's long overdue. I think the position of the government is taking without the veiled conditionality of a stay from a Court of Appeal should be the case in any event. This is a decision, really, this is a position which we have unfortunately gotten ourselves in because of a fundamental misinterpretation of Article 6 and Article 6, I think, and 14 of the Constitution. That's just my view. Now, I could be wrong, but I embrace the decision by Mr. Justice Winder. I think he was spot on. I'd like to disagree with my senior and my teacher, Mr. Justice Burton Hall. I think the history is there. And of course, Mr. Roker takes us back to 1973. So what I will not do is to fight with a freedom fighter. I could never win, right? I don't fight with freedom fighters. So I think that the government's position is the right one. There should be no deportations at all until this matter is finally determined.
Mr. Roker, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't want to say anything about that particular matter. All I want to say, and I continue to say this, and I want everybody to understand me, I want to know what a Bahamian is. I want to know whether we have the right in the Bahamas to decide what happens to us in the Bahamas. That's what I want to know. I want to know if we are a sovereign nation. Our problem, I find, is that we only want to obey part of the laws that affect us. And we ignore the other parts of the laws. I believe all laws should be obeyed. And if we do not agree with the law, we should change them. If we can't change them, then, well, that's too bad for us. And to talk about what should have been in the Constitution, and I was there, and I know it was difficult to get what we got. Because in the Bahamas, we didn't want to be free. We wanted to be slaves. So we had to take what we thought we could get. We had a former premier of the Bahamas voting for us not to be free. And so it's okay to talk now about what should be in the Constitution, who should be Bahamian. But in 73, there were a lot of Bahamians who didn't want to be Bahamian. And they were apparently educated people as well.
So we were talking, obviously, a very different time. I want to read a comment from Jamila, one of our Facebook viewers. It says, "Greetings, guests. What is our nationality, and how does it affect the control of our jurisdiction?" Who wants to tackle that? Because I think you touched on it. What is a Bahamian? Who wants to tackle that question?
Well, I don't want to tackle it because I have difficulty now in finding out who is a Bahamian. We reached a point where sooner or later we're not going to. If as a Bahamian, I need permission to put up a building. And if I don't put up the building, I am penalized for that if I don't get permission. And a foreigner could come into the Bahamas illegally without permission of the government of the Bahamas and go and take some land, whether crown lands or private land, and put up a building. And that's okay. Then I'm not sure where we're living.
Fayne, you want to respond to that?
I tackled it from a different point of view. First, let me always defer to the elder, Mr. Roker. I've never had an opportunity to debate any issue with Mr. Roker in my life, and this is an honor. This is a pleasure and an honor. Having said that, I am a product of Mr. Roker's vision. And I'm going to say this, that to the extent that we determined to limit the acquisition of citizenship at birth for reasons of policy, I believe, under the Nationality Act. I will be corrected by Mr. Roker if I get any of this wrong. By reason of the Nationality Act, that we sought by policy to determine who a Bahamian was in furtherance of an interpretation of Article 6 or thereabouts of the Constitution. I believe, respectfully, that was limited. It was limited to the extent because if a Bahamian man was not allowed to divest his citizenship to his child, to a foreign woman at birth in 1973, it was wrong then, and it's wrong now. But respectfully, I say this because I scared to even say this now because Mr. Roker in the room, you know, the kind of way. And that's my view. It has always been my view. I always thought that it was a curious thing that a single woman could vest citizenship to her child at birth for policy reasons, no more than that, and perhaps an interpretation of the word parent in Article 6 or 14. I thought it was weird. I thought that was anomalous, an anomaly which could not be cured simply by continuing a practice which really for 48 years has disenfranchised Bahamian men. But let's take it further. Let's take it further than that. We have a situation where there is still an anomaly for married women to foreign men. I shouldn't say that. I don't want to get into the personal stuff. But family members of mine have fought hard to get their 1 or 2 children their passports because of that anomaly that, again, we embraced. Who is a Bahamian is something that should have been determined many, many years ago. We are now, the Constitution is a dynamic document. We are now making that determination. Brave and bold and insightful judges are coming forward and plugging in the holes which show gaping omissions. And again, respectfully, because the elder in the room, I revere him, but I take issue with one particular interpretation of the Constitution that he has.
John, let's hear from you on this.
I completely concur and agree with what Fayne said just now. I missed all of what Mr. Roker said because I couldn't hear, so I apologize. But I can only go on what Fayne said just now, and I completely concur. I like his terming of them as anomalies. I think that's very polite, and I think he's using that because we are in the presence of such a senior man. And I respect that. So, and as I said, even though I find myself betwixt and between feeling that the court might be overreaching in some ways in other aspects of this immigration discussion, but as far as the court being there to make these interpretations, that is for me the reason for the judiciary's existence. To seek to interpret the legislation and also to interpret it in a spirit of the day, of the society of the day. So I think that, and as I said, Fayne, before you got here, I said in some ways it's sad that the judiciary has to take a lead on this because it should be coming from the legislator, you know, and the legislator should have the boldness where needed to pen the right version of a referendum, and not this clever drafting with 10 and 15 questions, many of which could be misconstrued and properly construed as getting into issues that don't need to be addressed at the present time. Maybe they need to be addressed at some point in time, but what needs to be addressed is a simple issue: the equality of our Bahamian women, and also the so-called equality of the sexes. And when I say the sexes, the defined sexes under science as male and female.
Absolutely.
The equality of the sexes, man and woman. Yeah. No other. Okay. And you see, the problem is that people try to jump on these things and say, once we talk about sexual equality, we're talking about an whole alphabet soup. No, I am not talking about an alphabet soup. And that is what perverted the issue last time. I am talking about a born Bahamian woman and a born Bahamian man having equality across our jurisprudence, period.
In pageantry, we call it naturally born female. Because
naturally born female.
Yeah, because nowadays with all of this, transgender this and the next, and we're at a different time, and you have to be very, very specific and clear as to what it is that you're spelling out. And I think a part of the problem is what you all just described with the last time. 2 times we tried to take this to referendum. There was so much room for confusion. And then on top of that, you had the drafting challenges. And so it was doomed to fail before it even started. And I think if we are serious about making these changes, then we have to do a better job at taking it to the people in a manner in which it has a chance to at least, go through, as opposed to, being doomed to failure before you even get to the poll. If we say we're serious, we have to prove that we're serious about this. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Fayne, before you came on, I suggested that we have a wording of a referendum that is as simple as, do you support a natural born, I'm adding some words in there for Michelle, a natural born Bahamian male and natural born Bahamian female having the same rights to pass citizenship to their children, whether born in or out of wedlock? Yes or no? I don't think we need to get any more confused than that. And I think with 77% of births being out of wedlock, and then also many Bahamian women, dozens, hundreds of Bahamian women married to foreign men who are unable, and Michelle gave such a powerful example, even in the case of divorce, where the children are granted custody to the mother. She's been granted custody of foreign children, children holding foreign passports who have no right in her home country, in their home country, in their birth country. I think that the Bahamian people are more than prepared to embrace such a referendum and to see that our jurisprudence reflects the same.
John,
Now-
I
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Fayne.
John, I am I am wary about referenda because of, John, the notorious problem is that it has a political agenda invariably.
Yes.
I voted in the affirmative for the entire 4 questions when it came before, and I would vote the same way again. But I do know that our society is so conservative in terms of its sexual politics and its perception of the agenda of some, that I said then when it failed that it will be the judiciary who will intervene to correct some of these historical anomalies. Let me use that word again. And so said, so done. Justice Winder came forward and did something interesting. I agree that we have to find a way to settle it, but I don't know that politicians will have the right motivation when they bring it to the Bahamian people. I do not know that they will be able to achieve it because of the natural conservative nature of our people vis-a-vis the politics of sex and gender.
Fayne and Michelle, maybe, and Mr. Roker, maybe this is not a conversation. And as you see, there are no politicians. That's a joke. But there are no politicians here on this panel. Maybe it is for civil society. One of the things I've been trying to shake the cage, of women of the Bahamas. Women of the Bahamas, and Mr. Roker will speak better to this. If it wasn't for the women of the Bahamas standing up and demanding their rights, primarily their rights to vote, we wouldn't have majority rule today. And a lot of people forget that. All right. So the women of the Bahamas need to get back to those marrying days, get back to those days where they had women standing up and fighting. It shouldn't be a panel with 3 men having this discussion. And the truth is, but if it has to be strong men to come up, and strong men should fight for their women. And what else are we here on the planet for but to fight for our women? That's my role on the planet. So and to provide for our families. That's my role. But at the same time, women need to stand up and demand their equal share of the Bahamas. They are 50+% of the population. Sadly, the case is that they are the vast majority of the working population. They are the money earners right now. They are the ones coming up with the university degrees. Women need to stand up and say, you know what, how about we go on strike? How do we, women of the Bahamas, go on a 48-hour strike? This ain't going to do PLP, FNM, UBP, BDP, DNA, none of the above, none of it. All right? This is about women of the Bahamas, and we've decided we're going on a 48-hour strike. We're removing our service. We're not marching. We're just going to sit down. This country would come to a screeching stop, and none of these little panel discussions would be necessary, because within 12 hours, it wouldn't be 48 hours. Within 12 hours, the legislator would be on its knees and drafting. But that is not happening. That's just not happening, and I don't know why. If the women in the civil service alone were to say we are not working anymore until we get equal pay for every man in the civil service, we want equal pay for the same positions, and we go on strike until that happens, they wouldn't strike for 2 hours. It wouldn't be a 2-hour strike. But for whatever reason, they seem not to want these things. They seem not to want to stand. And I'm at a loss. But maybe it is that they need strong men to stand up front and to say, this is what you need to do. You need, and this is not the first time I've said these things, Michelle. This is not the first time and not the first place, and I continue to say it. Mm-hmm. Women of the Bahamas, stand up and demand your share. Demand it.
All right. No argument for me there. Okay. We have to take a quick break. I really want us, though, to turn our attention to sovereignty. I know we touched on it, but I want to go back there because I have a comment that somebody put here. And it does raise a very serious question in the minds of many Bahamians as to whether or not this ruling could open the door for women to have children for Bahamian men as a way to secure their position or standing within the Bahamas. So we have to talk about that. It's the elephant in the room that we have to address. We have to talk about that, and we're going to do so on the other side of the break, as to what this ruling really means as it relates to our sovereignty as a country. And then, of course, we're going to open the phone lines. They're already open. So if you want to contribute to this conversation, the telephone number to call is 828-3543, 828-3543. And the text line is 828-2543, 828-2543. We will be back after these words from our sponsors. Stay with us.
Glory 93.9 FM, the people's favorite gospel station.
Ocean blue is the best in seafood, fresh out the water and affordable too. We got fish, conch, lobster, shrimp, everything you want. Ocean blue got it. Ocean blue, friendly and clean, best service you ever seen. Ocean blue is the best in seafood, fresh out the water and affordable too. Ocean blue seafood, we are here for you. Ocean blue seafood, no one else will do. Ocean Blue Seafood, located on Bernard Road. Contact us at 393-2160.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
One of the things I love about the mailboat is their relationship with Bahamas Air. I can earn travel points on my international freight and redeem them when I fly.
For me, online shopping is easy, with Mailboat's U.S. addresses and regular freight delivery to Nassau. Plus, I can always prepay customs and freight, and they always notify me when my package arrives.
Yeah, a lot of people think the Mailboat is just for shipping, but they also offer a safe and secure storage facility at affordable rates, all in a central, convenient location.
We also offer passenger service into Freeport multiple times per week with a seating capacity of over 450 persons. With family movies on large screens, one hot meal included, and on-board lounge for snacks and soft drinks. We're the Mailboat. We're bridging people, products, and places.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun. And by BMP Liquidators. High quality furniture and home goods at very reasonable prices.
Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm, and we have with us on the show today a Loftus Roker. We've got Fayne Thompson, and we have John Bostwick. Our topic today is Who's Your Daddy? We are talking about the ruling of the appeals court as it relates to citizenship of the rights of a Bahamian man to pass on citizenship to his children, whether or not their mother is a Bahamian or a foreigner. So now, the argument that we hear quite frequently as it relates to why people have a problem with this is the argument of what they call anchor babies. The ability of a woman, a foreigner, to come to the Bahamas, find a willing Bahamian man, know him in the biblical sense, end up pregnant, have a child in the Bahamas, which according to this ruling, that child now has rights to become a Bahamian citizen because his father or her father is a Bahamian. And what will that then mean for that mother who may have entered the country illegally, but because she has had a child for this Bahamian man, that child is now considered eligible or has a right to be a citizen. Now, this is a message from one of our viewers on Facebook. She says, the funniest thing is that if we as Bahamians go into any country, whether illegal, we can rest assured that they would deport us back into our own country with a flash. So why is this government making every illegal immigrant legal? If we keep this up, the Bahamas will be no more, and our identity will be no more. Do you gentlemen believe that that's just I like the way that Fayne puts it, because Fayne says we just are very bigoted as a people. And do you see this as just a means to hold on to our bigotry, or are there genuine, rightful concerns as it relates to this issue? What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree with that person.
Mm-hmm.
I always say to my friends, sooner or later we wouldn't know who Bahamian is.
Okay.
And we seem like we have the biggest country in the world and that we could give away everything in the Bahamas. We have enough to give away to all the people of the world.
All right. Anybody else want to comment on that?
I sit in the presence of greatness, and I'm going to be very careful. I have to be. Let me say that first. To put the question assumes vis-a-vis women a level of sexism which we are not discussing. Secondly, to suggest that somehow Bahamian men would be the vessel for undermining our sovereignty by fathering children from outside for reasons of either monetary reward or whatever. Again, I believe that's another hysteria which has no real and true basis. Having said that, the Bahamas is not a perfect place, and people will try to abuse our borders. We are obliged to protect our country and our people. But to assume that somehow we ought to limit paternity citizenship being bestowed upon our children because Bahamian women may be taken advantage of is no less offensive, having regard for the fact that the same check doesn't apply to Bahamian men.
Bahamian men may be taken advantage of it because we're not talking about Bahamian women in this instance. We're talking about Bahamian men fathering children with women, with foreign women.
Yeah, I take your point, but I'm trying to, let me focus then on that. If the concern is simply that Bahamian men will father children with foreign women, I do not know how practical it can be to wield the sword of the Constitution to at least to police that social challenge. I think there are other ways of ensuring, for example, the genuineness of marriages, that marriages of convenience do not take place, the investigations can be had, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we must also bear in mind, though, that historically, Bahamian men, single Bahamian men have suffered this indignity. So we have to be careful in seeking to minimize the importance of this conversation by simply screaming, he's going to be taken advantage of. I don't think we can be taken advantage of any more than a Bahamian woman. And Bahamian women are very, very guarded when it comes to this country. And so also applies to our men.
All right, we have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Yes, Michelle. Please allow me to address say respect to the former Minister of National Security and Immigration, Mr. Loftus Roker. I'm sorry I didn't get to get it. Didn't notice he was on the show. I didn't get to listen to the beginning of the show. But as relates to the what it is to be a Bahamian, and I hear them, the ruling was in respect to Article 19 and in reference to Article 6. But you see, and when I speak about the right, that equal right for male and female Bahamian citizens, I'm speaking in respect to Article 3. Fayne, Thompson, and Brother Bostwick, in respect to every person who on the 9th of July 1973 is a citizen of the United Kingdom and colonies, having become such a citizen under the British Nationality Act 1948 by virtue of his having been registered in the former colony of the Bahama Islands under that act shall become a citizen of the Bahamas on the 10th of July 1973. Paragraph provided that this paragraph shall not apply to any citizen of the United Kingdom colonies who has not ordinarily resident in that colony on the 31st of December 1972, or who became registered in that colony on or after the 1st of January 1973, or C, who on the 9th of July 1973 possesses the citizenship or nationality of some other country. They are the people who cannot be registered as a Bahamian. And it also answered the question as relates to those, like I said, who were registered. Now, if you go and we're talking about Chapter 2 of the Constitution and in respect to citizenship. Now, Article 1 and Article 2. Article 2 speaks to those born outside of the country. We know that. So what I'm saying here, let us be clear as relates to my point or my comment, my previous comment when I spoke about a Bahamian male and female citizen. I need everyone to be clear on respect to who I'm talking about. Now, when we want to speak about, like the former Minister of Immigration have already articulated properly and rightfully and truthfully, that if you do not like the law, change it. I have said that. Michelle, you heard me say that on the other unfortunate place where would tell you find your own station. Well, hey, the truth have a new home. Praise Yahweh Elohim. So what I'm saying is, don't get it twisted what it is to be a Bahamian. I am a Bahamian. Now, if your mother and father was not married, they had to register. You understand? I born in 1970, so I was registered. My father recognized the woman he had a child with, consequently 3 children with, he signed for 3. He did not marry. However, both were nationalized and registered and normally living in this Bahamas. So I need every person to comprehend. We have an illegal issue, we will deal with that. That's what we represent. Amos represent dealing with the illegal issue.
Okay.
Don't get it twisted, the legal and legal mix. I don't want if we're going to have a legal conversation, we're going to have a legal conversation. Then let's go on topic of the illegal situation. And so we don't convolute the good, decent people from the world who deserve to be here with us, who we deserve to be with them and visiting them, and they visited us, and we're being blessed.
Okay, Amos.
I run on, eh?
Yeah.
Michelle, boss lady,
wrap it up.
You forgive me for being late?
Yeah, Amos, we
I gone.
you're eating up plenty time. Thank you so much for calling. My God. Okay. Amos is something else. All right, let's get back on track. John, you wanted to say anything with regard to the concern that was raised by the Facebook viewer? Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
No, I tend to agree with Fayne again, and all of this is an attempt to police morality, and I'm cautious about that, and that Bahamian man, and as Fayne tied it in, or a Bahamian woman is so weak unto themselves that they're going to be used as breeding stock for anchor babies, and so that no person no longer has to have a marriage of convenience. They could just go off and get pregnant, and therefore have a child who is entitled to Bahamian citizenship. I think that is a sad concern, and on a certain level, an invasion of people's personal space and ability to conduct their own moral code and standard. The so-called anchor baby argument, I don't like it. I don't subscribe to it. You know, I don't want to believe that such a large percentage of human interaction in the Bahamas towards the production of a child is only based on one thing, only based on economic benefit. I would hate to believe that we are that person.
Yeah, get it. I got it. Mr. Roker, let's hear from you. What are your concerns as it relates to how we protect our sovereignty as a nation when it comes to this question of citizenship and who has the right to become a citizen based on the nationality of their mother or father? What are your concerns as to the road that we seem to be heading down?
One of my concerns, and I suppose this was dealt with in the Constitution, but one of my concerns is there a limit, or is there a defined way in which an individual could become a Bahamian? That is my view. And I think that should be made clear. And if we don't like the way the Constitution is executed now, then we should try and change it. Some people believe that going to a referendum, well, we need to go to a referendum. Some people don't want to go there because they believe they're not going to get what they want from the referendum.
I need you to talk directly into the microphone for me, please. There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
But, you know, if your constitution, it is said that your constitution could only be changed by a referendum legally. If you don't want to do that, then you should abide by the Constitution. Now, the courts are supposed to interpret it, and I suppose we have the Privy Council, which is part of it. And if we don't like what the judges say here, we can go to the Privy Council, and that would be the final decision on what the matter is. I'm prepared to wait and see what they say. I knew what we were trying to do at the Constitutional Conference. We didn't get everything we wanted, but we got enough that I thought we would become a sovereign nation. Some people feel that we're not. Well, they're entitled to that. I feel that we got as much as we could get. And don't believe the British were easy to deal with. And if I may say this, when we went back, when Arthur Hannah, Paul Adley, and I went back to London to try and work out the little details of the draft constitution which was sent to us, Lord Balneil, in discussion with us, was arguing with us on a particular point. And at one point he said, you know, have Mr. Pinling call me. I'm not discussing this with you all anymore. I got up from the table and I went to the door and I said, gentlemen, let us get out of here. This fellow don't have no respect for us. The government of the Bahamas sent us here to deal with this matter. And he's telling us now that he let Mr. Pinling call him. Let it go from here. And Mr. Adley and Mr. Hannah, they got up and we walked out. Finally, Lord Balneil called Mr. Hannah when we got back to the hotel. But, you know, things were not easy. That's the problem. It was not easy to get that constitution, and it's not going to be easy to change it. If we're serious, we'd get down changing it. But you must I believe you should have the Bahamian people with you on it. I don't believe the Bahamian people agree with what the court said. I don't believe the majority of Bahamians agreed with it.
Michelle, if I may.
Go ahead, John.
Sorry. And again, as I listen to my senior, a few things. Sovereignty. I don't know how you get partial sovereignty. And as he said, we didn't get everything we wanted. It was hard to get, and the British weren't easy. Well, how could they give us piece of sovereignty and not all? You know? So it puzzles me. And see, I accept the statement as factual as he said it. And you see, sovereignty is not something that people are given. Freedom is not something that people are given. It's something you take. And you see, the British went around giving out sovereignty like they were giving out raffle tickets. Oh, here you go, here's your sovereignty, and here it is on our terms. And take it on our terms. Take your sovereignty on our terms. What are your terms towards my complete and absolute freedom? What are the terms? What terms could there be? So, unless I am not completely and absolutely free. So, because of it came with terms and conditions and a fight. And it didn't come with a war. And typically sovereignty comes with a war. And when you end up with true sovereignty, that's when you really sit down and draft your own constitution without any interference, without any suggestion, and you frame your constitution.
Mm-hmm.
We've never done that. That has yet to happen. And so the second comment is the constitution that we have was brought back. It had been negotiated by our government through the appointment of chosen individuals who you hear one of them admitting they had hell to fight with the British and were fighting to get what all they could get. But our constitution, and it was handed to the rest of us. Here you go, here's your constitution. But to change it, we now need to have a referendum. And as Fayne sadly said, we've had bad experience with that. We've had poor show with that, very poor show with that. Because referenda are easily corrupted.
Became political football.
But easily corrupted through politics.
Mm-hmm.
And also, one of the reasons they're easily corrupted, I'm sad to say, is that through the years of majority rule, we do not end up with a B average, A average, highly educated mass that can absorb the complex issue involved in referenda and constitutional amendment. We have a D average society, sad to say, where the majority of people can't get their minds around even the concept of referenda, the concept of separation of state and separation of judiciary. There's only a handful who understand that. Sadly, 50 years later. So the task of constitutional amendment, as prescribed by the Constitution itself, is monumental. Monumental.
Yeah, you make a very valid point, John, and that the challenge is that we do have a very challenged educational system, and then on top of that, to make matters worse, from where I sit, the process of trying to educate the masses on what is being questioned in the referendum is also very, very poor. So you already have a system that is broken, and then on top of that, you don't make any extra effort to try to educate the people on the issue that you want them to vote on, understanding that the system is broken, and so
poor and skewed, and you're getting people purposely mixing it up with politics and misdirection. Yes. It is a sad state. Look, we couldn't come to a national consensus on a national economic development plan, although the former administration tried hard to be as inclusive as possible. They did actually try. The opposition, which is now the government of the day, refused to participate. So even on issues such as that, we can't have national consensus. On an issue like a constitutional referendum, there needs to be national consensus on the wording of the question and then on the education process. There doesn't need to be people playing, clicking around like a political football and purposely misleading these people. It is a sad situation, but it is the topic we discuss.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, time is just about gone on the show. I'd like to give you each 1 minute for your final thoughts. Fayne, let's start with you. What are your final thoughts on this?
As we traverse the annals of history, we will find confronting us age-old challenges. This is one. It should have been fixed in 1973. It wasn't. It's now being met head-on by enterprising, brave, and bold judges. I applaud Justice Wilder. He is good for our democracy. He has retrenched our democracy. I hope that the Privy Council upholds his decision, and that this becomes the norm, and that one day married women will enjoy the same equality before the law as married men, because presently single men do not enjoy the same equality before the law as single Bahamian women. So I look forward to the expansion of this area of law. I think it's a great development. All
right, John, let's go to you next. Your final thoughts on this.
I agree with what Fayne said, but I add in that I'm a little saddened that the judiciary had to act. The legislative body should have acted. I do feel the judiciary is there for such interpretation. That is the reason for separation of powers, and we've seen it come into play. but also there's some dangerous precedents being set in that same arena at the same time. Interesting time in the Bahamas, and I remain supportive of equal rights for all Bahamians. Male and female should be on equal footing across the board in our jurisprudence.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we are going to give the final word to the senior man in the room, Mr. A. Loftus Roker.
No, all I would like to make a general statement of the way we act in the Bahamas. First of all, nobody, Mr. Bostwick, I think, raised the point. If you can't be given sovereignty, you have to fight for it.
Mm-hmm.
In the Bahamas today, everybody expects people to give them something.
Mm.
And as long as we have that attitude, we're going to be in problems. We should be too proud to be begging people for anything. You should work for what you want. And I think that part of our thing is we always want to blame somebody else for our problems, when we're the ones who should be dealing with our problems in the Bahamas today. And that go not only in this particular point that we were trying to discuss, but everything we do in the Bahamas. Bahamians should want to work for themselves. Bahamians should not wait for some foreigner to come in and bring me something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's until we reach the point that we, as a sovereign country, should provide for our own people and not wait and beg other people to give us something. Until we reach that point, I think we're going to have problem. And if you're frightened of a referendum, what you're frightened of is you're frightened that you cannot clarify to the person who has to vote at the referendum why he should be voting yes or no.
Mm-hmm. All right. Wow. This has been quite an interesting conversation. Thank you so much, gentlemen, to all of you for being here today. Mr. A. Loftus Roker, John Bostwick, Fayne, Thompson, talking about the latest developments in the citizenship ruling. And we will continue to watch, especially to see what the Privy Council decides to do and the impact that that will have on our nation. So thank you, gentlemen, once again for being here today. Well, that's going to do it for today's show. Tomorrow, boy, some interesting things are happening in the country as it relates to whether or not we are heading to an early election. And me and C. Allen have been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, and it looks like we may have been on to something. So C. Allen is going to be back on the show again tomorrow, and we're going to be talking about whether or not indicators are the bell is going to be rung. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. And who knows, by the time we get on the air, it might have already been rung. We will find out tomorrow. So don't you miss tomorrow's show, a continuation of our series on political chess moves. I think the competent authority might be going for checkmate on this one, but we will talk about it tomorrow. So be sure to tune in. I'm Michelle Malcolm. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much, Mr.